Learning Ally is a proud sponsor of the Empower Dyslexia podcast. Learning Ally, a nonprofit education organization, helps to transform the lives of struggling learners by delivering proven solutions that help students reach their potential. We have a heritage of supporting students with a reading deficit like dyslexia. Our award-winning Human Read audiobook solution helps students in grades 3 through 12 access books they want and need to read to help them succeed. Visit www.learningally.org for more information.
The following content is not intended as a substitute for professional legal advice, medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your attorney, advocate, physician, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding any medical or educational concerns.
Hello and welcome to the Empower Dyslexia Student Edition. This is a show for us, by us. I'm your host, Asher Yearout. You may know my dad as the host of Empower Dyslexia. I have seen how much this show has helped and impacted others and how important this information is to parents and teachers and students. This is why I insisted on doing Empower Dyslexia Student Edition. We need to know what is going on and why. We need to be able to speak about dyslexia with our friends, families, teachers, and experts in their field. Our goal on this show is for them to speak to us and not at us. Speak to us so that we understand what's going on and to meet us where we are at. Please be sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please write us a review, and especially if you like our content. You can get all of our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa-enabled devices, AnyPod, TuneIn, iHeartRadio. Today's topic is supporting children with learning disabilities in education. Welcome to the Empower Dyslexia Student Edition. Today's guest has an amazing resume. An award-winning educator and author, contributor, and speaker. Started teaching in a state facility serving incarcerated male juveniles. Assisted regional superintendent, elementary school principal, and high school principal currently. A TED Talk. Mr. Hilderbrand, how are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you doing today, Asher? Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. I'm doing very good. I'm glad to have you on the show.
Awesome.
To start off, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what gave you the passion to become an educator and to help our disadvantaged youth population?
Yeah. So my passion to become an educator started when I started working with juvenile, incarcerated male juveniles in a Pennsylvania State Correctional Facility for juveniles. And my passion started there. So the little backstory on that, I never aspired to be a teacher. My aspirations were really involved with sports and physical education, sports management, physical therapy. Those are the things that I aspired for. But I found my way to being unemployed early coming out of college, and I took a job at a facility, a correctional facility for juveniles. And I was a physical education teacher and a coach, basketball coach. And it was in that setting that I saw education from a different perspective. I saw kids who struggled with reading, struggled with life, struggled with family issues. And it was those experiences that inspired me to change my career goal from sports management to education. And so that's how I got on this pathway. Although my parents are both retired educators, my mom is a retired principal, my dad's a retired guidance counselor. So I was very familiar with the business and profession of education, but it wasn't my first choice by a stretch. But however, seeing kids struggle is what got me into this profession.
How was it like teaching in the juvenile system, going from, coaching to having to deal with the kids as in a coaching standpoint, being kind of they're like mentor. If they didn't have a father figure, you were looked up as their father figure. That's what a lot of coaches are looked up as. And then going into teaching, and then now you being in the classroom with them majority of the day, how is it like that?
Yeah. Well, I was a young man. I was in my early 20s. These were juveniles between the ages of 13 and 17. There were some 18-year-olds. So at the time, I was not much older than them as their coach and as their physical education teacher, particularly the ones who were 17 and 18 years old. But they did look up to me because I was the teacher. But I think they also looked up to me, not more so as a father figure. I think the principal kind of held that role, but more of a brotherly figure and someone who could understand some of their plights if they described it and explained it to me. And so I developed relationships with them. Through coaching, I coached basketball, but I also assisted the football team. And I also helped operate some of the other athletic programs that we had, like wrestling and weightlifting and boxing and some of the other things. But it was through athletics that I was able to establish relationships with the young people. So when I saw them in the classroom setting struggling, I was able to be able to reach out to them because I had already established relationships, and they were able to open up and be vulnerable about what they didn't know about reading.
Because you already gained their trust as a coach and as probably like a brother. They were able to really open up and tell them what they were struggling with and what they needed help with.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to ask you, what inspired you to write your book? What really inspired you to go out and write this book?
So what inspired me is really so by the time the backdrop of my book is the Philadelphia prison system. And so at the Philadelphia prison system, I was the principal of the school inside of the Philadelphia prison system, which at that time in the early about 2004, 2008 period was the 5th largest urban county jail system in the United States. It was an adult facility, but there were juveniles who were there because they were being tried as adults for the crimes that they committed. And so prior to becoming a principal there, I had already served as a principal in other school settings, high school settings, large and small. So I was coming into maybe my third principal assignment. And so what I realized were a couple of things that inspired me to write the book was that a lot of educators are unfamiliar with correctional education. We talk about the school to prison pipeline, but we only talk about it from what we see inside of traditional school settings. Once kids get incarcerated and they are transitioned to state facilities, we tend to forget about them. So when I would tell people that I was the principal inside of the Philadelphia prison system, I would get this really awkward look from them as if they were in shock. Like, how could you work inside of a correctional facility? And so that kind of reaction showed me that people did not understand correctional education. And then two, I worked within a school district, and even my school district was unfamiliar with incarcerated youth. And so it was a facility that rarely was supported by the school district. Rarely did any school district officials visit the facility to check on us and those type of things. That changed over time. But writing the book allowed me to expand this unfamiliar topic with a lot of people. And then lastly, Asher, I received a national award in 2008 from the Council of Great City Schools, this Queen Smith Award, which is given to top urban educators from around the country, one top urban educator from 70 urban school districts. So I was fortunate enough to get this award. And after I got the award, Asher, many school board members, superintendents, and other high-level district officials lined up to speak to me to tell me that they had not been familiar until hearing me speak about incarcerated youth within their own school districts. And so those things inspired me to write the book.
That's amazing. Personally, what do you think sets up all these kids for failure? Because there has to be a root cause that sets up these kids for failure. And how do you think we can be able to solve this issue throughout our lifetime, and to get this issue eliminated and get these kids back in the classroom and to expand their educational careers?
So I understand your question. What are some of the barriers that young people we're talking about, incarcerated youth, faced in schools? It comes down to me, and I didn't know this originally. This is over time. This is experience. This is visiting classrooms. It's really it boils down to reading. It boils down to kids not being able to read, and kids finding themselves unsuccessful in the classroom setting, kids finding themselves not getting the help they need, not because people may not want to help them, but perhaps they don't know how to help them. Perhaps the teacher struggles with reading instruction. Perhaps the resources are not there in the school to help them. Any number of reasons, kids are not getting help. And they then fall out of love with school, and they find other things to be successful in. And some of the things they become successful in, unfortunately, are negative things, where they then find appreciation, they find skill sets, they find the ability to lead others. But unfortunately, it might be in a negative way, and they then get in trouble, have behavior issues, get suspended, and folks talk about the school to prison pipeline from that perspective. But originally it was reading. It was being unsuccessful, because if you can't read, you struggle with other subjects. You struggle with keeping up with your peers. You struggle with embarrassment. You struggle with a lot of things, and then you fall out of love with education. And so reading would be the primary thing that I believe is the reason for some of those challenges.
And I completely agree with you. I was going into my freshman year of high school reading at a third grade reading level, late to third grade, early fourth reading level, and I went through the Now program, which is Dr. Conway's intervention, and that pretty much turned my life around. How the sense of I'm now able to read. You know, I went from reading on a third to fourth grade level to reading on a 12th grader level, and pretty much changed my life around completely. You know, I'm now able to read. I'm now able to comprehend the work that I'm being given to us. And another thing that I think is very important is, you know, to have all the students, teachers, and even the administration all on the same page, as in the sense of kids with a learning disability with their accommodations, oral admin, to get stuff read to you, to get extra time. You know, how can we have all the teachers and students to be on all the same page, and to be able for the kids to receive these resources so they're not set up for failure.
Right. I agree.
What in the classroom, why do you think there's such a problem with the literacy rate in the classroom? As in the sense of, is it the kids aren't being able to be taught to read, or the kids just don't know how to read? You know, what are some key problems do you think that there is with the literacy rate involved in the classroom?
Yeah. Again, the key is getting the instruction of reading, or reading instruction, right. And so children, particularly in the early grades, kindergarten, first and second, going into third, you know, are learning how to read.